You walk every morning, but feel more tired each day. Something's very wrong here. Why do you feel tired, heavy-headed, and unable to focus even after walking each morning? Is it just aging, or is your body trying to warn you of something deeper? Have you ever wondered, I'm exercising to feel stronger, so why do I feel weaker? I've heard that question from hundreds of patients. And almost every one of them said the same thing. I walk every single morning, never miss a day. But afterward, I feel even more tired than before I started. Have you ever felt that way? Sit down after walking. Exhale deeply. Take a sip of cool water. And yet, your head feels like it's floating, like gravity just disappeared. Your body has stopped, but inside your head, everything still spins. Not full-on dizzy, but just enough to keep you sitting longer. Not quite a headache, but enough to make you not want to do anything else for the rest of the morning. And usually, you'll say, maybe it's just age. But that's exactly what kept me from staying silent. I clearly remember one patient, named Mrs. Norma, 74 years old, living in Ohio. A dignified woman, living alone, highly disciplined. She walked 30 minutes every morning around her neighborhood. Never missed a day, even in the cold winter. She believed that was how to stay sharp and feel younger. But then, she began noticing something strange. The more I walked, the more drained I felt. It wasn't muscle fatigue. It was like my head. Something was pulling the energy out of it. She drank water. She ate a proper breakfast. She checked her blood pressure, it was normal. She went to the doctor, results were fine. No serious health condition. Yet every morning, it was the same. After 20-30 minutes of walking, she had to sit down for 15 minutes, unable to do anything. Her mind would go foggy, her eyes dry, her hands a bit shaky, her heart beating lightly but rapidly. When I asked her, "What do you eat after your walk?" she answered, "Nothing. I just drink plain water to cleanse my system." And that's when I paused. Not because she did anything wrong, but because so many others are doing the exact same thing. Her brain, and maybe yours, wasn't being allowed to rest properly. It's not about age. It's not about disease. It's about missing one very small thing. But if you knew it, you could help your brain stay alert all day. What truly shocked me was the thing most older adults overlook, right after they stop their very first step. What truly got me was the moment Mrs. Norma sat down in her familiar chair after walking, thinking her body had restricted, but her eyes still empty, her hands slightly trembling. And that's when I understood, not all rest is recovery. Because one organ, the most important one, was still struggling under pressure after every step you just took. And the unexpected truth is, it's your brain that no one has given permission to rest. So what exactly is going on inside your head, even when you've already sat down and think you're fine? The answer might make you look back at every moment of rest in your life with a completely different lens. You sit down to rest, but your brain is still screaming from exhaustion. Why do you still feel heavy-headed and restless after walking, even when you've rested properly? Could it be your brain hasn't truly sat down yet? Do you know the strangest thing about older adults? It's when they do everything doctors recommend, exercise regularly, sleep enough, drink plenty of water, and still don't feel well. I used to think they were just more sensitive due to age. Until I looked directly at a brain scan taken after a patient's morning workout. And I saw something that stopped me in my tracks. The prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for memory, focus, and emotion, was overactive, while the sensory center showed signs of mild oxygen deficiency. What does that mean? It means, your brain is still working hard, even though you've already stopped. Muscles are resting. Heart rate slows down. You sit on a chair, exhale deeply. But inside your brain, blood is still rushing, neurons are still clashing due to the lack of one crucial regulator. They don't speak. They don't scream out loud. But they leave behind a feeling, vague, hazy, unsettled. Have you ever sat down but still felt uneasy? Felt your head empty in a strange way, as if you were being gently pulled away from reality? Felt your body calm, but inside, not rested at all? If so, please don't skip what comes next. Because what your brain needs at that moment isn't medicine, it isn't sleep, it isn't more exercise either. It's a simple nutrient, often overlooked to the point. No one reminds you to replenish it after physical activity. And it's the very thing that helps shut the pressure valve in your brain's blood vessels, helps calm down nerve signals, helps you truly feel clear-headed after resting. So what is this nutrient and why does it act as the brain's silent gatekeeper? Let's find out together. And I truly believe, this is something you deserved to know many years ago. Not medication, this mineral stabilizes your brain after walking. There's one nutrient that helps your brain land softly after physical activity. Have you ever heard its name? Why does a lack of it feel like a door that just won't shut, leaving pressure spilling out endlessly? Many people ask me, "Doctor, I'm not sick, so why do I still feel tired after walking? Should I take something to feel more alert? Or maybe I should walk less to conserve energy?" And the answer always surprises them. No, you don't need medication. You just need potassium. Potassium, a tiny mineral that acts as the gatekeeper of your entire nervous system. It's rarely mentioned during routine checkups. No one prescribes potassium after your morning walk. Yet it's the very thing that helps your brain settle down after stretching its electrical wires during exercise. Here's the simplest way to imagine it. Picture your brain as a water dam with pressure valves. After walking, blood shifts more toward your muscles, altering pressure in your brain. Potassium works like a soft pressure valve, allowing brain blood flow to ease and adjust, without building tension. Without enough potassium, that valve malfunctions, blood backs up, your neurons have to work twice as hard to maintain balance. And the result is, you feel drained, foggy, unsteady. Lacking potassium after exercise also disrupts electrolyte balance, causing slower nerve signals, mild heart rhythm irregularities, and difficulty concentrating for hours afterward. This happens even more often in older adults than you might think, because you sweat more after walking, because low-carb, low-fruit diets reduce potassium intake, because certain blood pressure medications quietly deplete potassium through urine. And here's what matters most, right after a walk is when your brain needs potassium the most. But that's also when almost no one remembers to replenish it. You don't need potassium pills. You just need to know what to eat, how much, and when. And that alone can completely change how the rest of your day feels. But what foods help? How much is enough? And why did Mr. Elias, a once healthy 71-year-old man, collapse simply from missing this one thing? The next story may forever change the way you look at food after exercise. Mr. Elias walked 4 kilometers every morning. Until the morning he collapsed on his kitchen floor. A man who walked every morning, ate regularly, and slept well, so why did he still collapse? Could a small missed meal be the real cause? I still remember that morning clearly at the hospital. A man was wheeled into the emergency room, mildly unconscious, low blood pressure, lost balance after walking. I looked at his file and froze. Mr. Elias, 71 years old, Colorado. No history of cardiovascular disease. Blood pressure typically within normal limits. Walks 4 kilometers every morning, from 6 o'clock to 6:45. No smoking. No alcohol. Balanced diet. Perfect. Until that morning. He had just stepped into the kitchen after his walk when he felt slightly dizzy. His wife thought he was just tired and told him to sit down. But seconds later, he collapsed, unable to speak. We stabilized him just in time. The results showed no stroke. No significant brain damage. But one number was dangerously low. His potassium level had dropped significantly. And when I asked, "Did you eat anything after your walk?" he answered, "I come back, drink some water, take a shower, then eat breakfast about an hour later." I thought drinking water first was the right thing to do. But that empty window, between exercise and eating, was the weak link that stressed his nervous system. After exercise, the body needs electrolytes, and potassium is key. But if you only drink plain water, you dilute your blood even more, causing potassium to drop even faster. And that prevents the brain from regulating pressure, leading to blurred vision, dizziness, and even temporary loss of awareness. That fall was a warning. But also a turning point. I sat down with Mr. Elias and we wrote a new plan together. After walking, rest for 5 minutes, drink a light electrolyte beverage, eat 1 banana or half an avocado immediately after, wait 20 minutes, then eat your full breakfast, that's it. 2 weeks later, he called me and said, "I'm no longer dizzy. I feel sharper. More emotionally stable. And I sleep more deeply at night." The issue wasn't the workout. It wasn't age. The issue was, no one had ever taught him how to nourish the brain after movement. And this doesn't just apply to Mr. Elias. Because even you, if you've been exercising regularly, may also be forgetting that one small bite your brain needs to truly recover. So what should you eat? How much? And why do some people regain even their memory by eating correctly? That's what I'll share with you next. A small meal, yet it wraps a stressed nervous system back into calm. Can a simple portion of food really soothe the brain after walking? What happens inside your head when it receives the right nutrients after exercise? We usually think of food as fuel for muscles, for the stomach. But very few people realize. The brain, which coordinates everything within you, is actually the most sensitive organ to what you eat right after exercise. After his fall, Mr. Elias began doing something he used to believe was unnecessary. Every morning after walking, he would eat a banana or half an avocado with a few slices of almond or a small handful of roasted sweet potatoes from the night before. Nothing complicated. No fancy cooking. Just foods rich in potassium, easy to digest, not heavy on the stomach. 10 days later, I called him to follow up. And he said just one sentence that left me speechless: "I no longer feel like my head is being squeezed, doctor. I can read the newspaper without leaning back. I can call an old friend, and remember what I meant to say." Science explains this very clearly. When the brain receives enough potassium at the right time, nerve cells regain electrical stability. Neural signals flow more smoothly, blood circulation eases microvessels, and the brain stops spasming. You don't need brain supplements. You don't need more exercise. You just need one small meal, at the right time, to wrap up the nervous system that's been under pressure. The metaphor I often use is this: walking is a burning journey. Eating right afterward is like gently placing a warm towel over your nervous system. Not too much. Not too intense. Just enough for the brain to say, "I'm safe. I'm recovering." Sadly, most of us were never taught this. We know how to exercise. But we don't know how to nourish the brain after it's been active. And that's why I want to share with you 5 simple, easy to find foods that are powerful tools to help the brain recover after walking. So which foods can calm the brain, as if you had just wrapped it in a warm towel after a cold gust of wind? And more importantly, why do some people eat them every day but still feel tired, while others feel sharp all morning? There's a secret about timing and combination that, once you understand, you'll never overlook your post-walk meal again. Let's look at the familiar things in your kitchen. That perhaps, until now, you've never used the right way to protect your brain. 5 foods that soothe brain blood vessels, but only if timed right. Why do some people eat bananas, avocados, and sweet potatoes every day, but still feel tired? Maybe it's not just about what you eat, but when and how much. The question that troubles me most isn't, what should I eat to feel better? But rather, why am I eating healthy things, but not feeling any better? And the answer lies in the 3 most often overlooked factors: timing, dosage, and combination. These are 5 simple, inexpensive, easy-to-find foods. But if you know how to use them at the golden moment after walking, they become a gentle cushion for the brain's blood vessels, lightly strained after exercise. 1. Ripe banana, rich in potassium, helps restore electrolytes quickly, easy to digest, doesn't divert too much blood to the stomach. Eat half one banana within 1015 minutes after exercise. Never eat green bananas on an empty stomach. 2. Roasted sweet potato, cooled, provides potassium plus slow digesting carbs, doesn't spike blood sugar suddenly. 1/3 of a medium-sized potato is enough, can be prepped the night before. 3. Fresh coconut water, naturally rich in potassium and magnesium, a gentle electrolyte drink for older adults. Just half a small glass is sufficient. Do not add sugar, and don't drink it cold after exercise. 4. Avocado, rich in healthy fats plus potassium plus vitamin B6, supports nerve function, helps stabilize blood sugar after exercise. 1/4 half fruit, eaten directly or blended with nut milk. 5. Sweet orange or ripe kiwi, replenishes water while enhancing potassium absorption. Eat a small piece, 1/4 fruit, combined with one of the main foods above. These foods don't need to fill a plate, nor make you full. They just need to lightly touch the nervous system, at the right time. Like placing your hand on a worried friend's shoulder, no need for many words. Just being there at the right moment is enough. Extremely important notes: don't consume these if mixed with salt, sugar, or cold cream after exercise. Don't overeat them, this can pull blood to the stomach and worsen brain oxygen deficiency. Don't drink iced water right after working out, it may cause sudden brain vessel constriction. Many of my patients ate avocados and sweet potatoes. But at the wrong time, in the wrong way. That's why they said, I ate all the right stuff but didn't feel any different. And only when they adjusted the timing and portion did they exclaim, I had no idea just one small bite could make my head feel so light. But if eating right after walking makes such a big difference, why do some people follow healthy eating habits, yet still feel brain fog, fatigue, or dullness all morning? I'll show you, the seemingly harmless habits, that can steal potassium from your bloodstream within minutes after your walk. And you'll want to double-check yourself after learning about them. Common mistake after walking: drinking water but still feeling dizzy. Why do you drink plenty of water but still feel mentally tired and unfocused after exercise? Could it be that the very habits that seem right are silently draining potassium from your body? One of the things I hear most often from older adults is, I don't eat anything after walking, but I drink lots of water. I thought drinking water was the best way to cleanse the body. And that's the biggest mistake, not because you drink water, but because you drink water without anything to help retain electrolytes. Let me explain this as simply as possible. After walking, you lose water, true. You sweat, true. But at the same time, you also lose a significant amount of potassium, sodium, magnesium, and other electrolytes through sweat. And when you drink only plain water, you unintentionally dilute your blood, which causes potassium levels to drop even faster. The brain can't adjust pressure in time, resulting in fatigue, brain fog, and lack of focus. This is the #1 mistake I see in over 70% of older patients. They exercise correctly, they drink water, but they don't eat anything with potassium during the golden window after the workout. And the result is, lightheadedness, slight hand tremors, mildly elevated heart rate, blurry vision, at times a feeling of something's missing that they can't quite name. In addition, here are 2 other common mistakes. 1. Eating salty foods after exercise, salty soup, salted eggs, salty snacks. Causes water retention, hinders potassium absorption. Increases blood pressure in the brain vessels, leading to prolonged head fatigue. 2. Taking diuretics or blood pressure meds without replenishing potassium after exercise. Some medications cause significant potassium loss. Combined with physical activity severe deficiency, leading to mild imbalance. One of my patients, Mr. Charles, 69 years old from Arizona, drank 2 large bottles of water after his morning jog, but didn't eat anything until nearly noon. The result, he passed out in the bathroom, was rushed to the ER due to a mild acute electrolyte imbalance. When I asked, "What did you eat after exercising?" he simply said, "I thought drinking water was enough." That's the problem. We're taught how to exercise, but not how to recover. We care for our muscles, but forget the brain. We drink water, but don't retain the nutrients that soothe the nervous system. If you're wondering, so how do I know if I'm low on potassium after exercise? I'll give you a very simple test, which takes just 15 seconds, but it could help you spot the issue years earlier than usual. At-home test, just 15 seconds to know if your brain is slightly short-circuited. You know, sometimes the things that seem so small, like the feeling in your head after walking, can reveal much more than you'd expect. I'm not asking you like a doctor taking a history. I'm asking like a friend who sat with many people just like you, quietly sharing about a morning that seemed peaceful, but inside, it wasn't. So let's be honest for a moment. Have you ever sat down to rest after a walk and felt your head floating? Not exactly dizzy, not quite unsteady, but that feeling, as if your head was drifting away from the room. A bit hazy, a bit disconnected, like your mind wouldn't stop even though your body had. If yes, I want you to know, you're not strange. It's something I've heard from hundreds of people, and often the very first sign of mild potassium loss after exercise. But that's not all. Have you ever noticed your hands a bit cold or your fingers tingling after a workout? Maybe your heart beats a bit faster than usual, but you brush it off, thinking it's just regular tiredness. I remember Mr. Jonas, an old friend of mine, once joked, "I don't know if my heart is racing from the walk, or if it's panicking because it's missing something." I laughed then, but also went quiet. Because he was right. Sometimes that irregular beat is the nervous system quietly calling for help when potassium dips too low. And there's one more thing, something many people keep to themselves, that moment when you're standing in the kitchen after a walk, looking around and suddenly forgetting what you came for. It's not memory loss. It's like your train of thought snapped like a frayed wire. You knew you were about to say something, or grab something, but it vanished in an instant. I've been through that feeling. And I know. You are not alone. Many people think it's just aging. But truly, it's your brain sending a soft warning. It hasn't been refueled after your physical effort. If the things I just said felt familiar to you, if you nodded once, twice, or even 3 times, your brain may be asking to be heard. Not with a test. Not with medication. But with a timely glass of water, a small bite, and a little kindness to yourself. I'm not saying this to make you worry. I just want you to look at yourself with more gentleness. Because those signals, if heard early, don't have to become something frightening. And more importantly, even if you realize you're low on potassium. If you miss the golden window after exercise, all your efforts to recover could slip through your fingers like sand. So how long does that golden window last? And how can you make sure you don't miss it, not even for a single morning? I'll tell you, because maybe. That's exactly what you need to stay clear and alert all day long. 15 minutes after exercise, if you miss it, your brain loses a whole day of recovery. Did you know? That very moment when you stop walking, sit down, exhale deeply, take a sip of water, is when the brain quietly opens a small window, for just a few fleeting minutes, ready to receive whatever you give it. I call it the brain's golden window. No one can see it. No device can pinpoint it. But your body knows. And if you pay close attention, you'll feel it. Imagine your brain as a garden after a strong wind. When you walk, you stir your entire circulatory system. The heart beats faster. Blood vessels expand and contract constantly. Your nervous system kicks in to maintain balance and regulate breathing. It's a powerful breeze, a positive one, but it also drains you. And the moment you stop, that garden, your brain, waits for a gentle splash of cool water. Just a little nourishment, given at the right time. That's all it takes for blood vessels to relax, for the nervous system to settle, for memory to reorganize, and for your emotions to return to balance. But if you don't water it at the right moment, the garden closes itself off. The soil begins to dry. The wind dies down, but the roots curl inward. And for the rest of the day, you'll feel tired, sluggish, foggy, without knowing why. That window only lasts for about 15 minutes after you stop moving. This is when your circulatory system is still open and flowing, cellular absorption channels are highly active, and your brain is ready to receive whatever you offer. If you eat during this time, you're not just replenishing what you lost, you're giving your brain a peaceful gift that lasts all morning. But if you only drink water and walk away, if you delay your meal for an hour, if you lie down and fall asleep, then the brain recalibrates itself by pulling energy from less essential areas. And that's why you feel fatigued, drowsy, or irritable, even when you think you've rested. I'm not telling you this to make you anxious. I'm sharing it because I've seen too many kind, diligent people who exercise regularly, but because they miss those 15 minutes each morning, they spend the rest of the day quietly exhausted, blaming it on old age. Age is not the issue. We've just never learned to listen at the right time. So what should you do during those 15 minutes? Is it enough to just eat anything? No. There are 3 incredibly simple steps I've put together, like a gentle morning ritual, and I hope you'll try them starting tomorrow. Because you deserve a clear, energized day, just from one very small habit. 3 simple steps to help your brain recover like after a deep sleep. If I could choose just one thing to give to people over 60 each morning, it wouldn't be a medication, nor a suggestion to exercise more. It would be something very small, very quiet, but I believe it's powerful enough to keep you mentally clear all day. That is, 3 steps to restore your nervous system after walking. Like gently guiding your brain from a state of stimulation back to deep relaxation. No pressure. No rush. Just a soft morning ritual, for you, and the life inside your head. Step 1, when you just stop moving, don't go back inside right away. Find a chair on the porch, or stand under a tree, take 3 deep breaths. Inhale slowly through your nose, then exhale gently through your mouth. No need to count. Just feel the breath like a breeze brushing down your spine into your brain. I know you can feel it. Because proper breathing is the first step to stabilizing brain blood pressure after physical activity. Step 2, drink a glass of warm water or a small glass of coconut water. Not cold. Not too much. Just enough to soften the flow inside your blood vessels. I still remember one elderly lady told me, a sip of water at just the right moment after walking, calms my head like the sky after a storm. And I can't describe it better than that. Step 3 is when you give your brain a light, potassium-rich snack. Just a small bite, no need to feel full. Half a banana, 1/3 of a sweet potato, a spoon of avocado, a few slices of orange, or a spoon of chia seeds mixed with nut milk. As long as it's light, easy to digest, and rich in potassium. Eat as if you're sending a gentle apology to your brain after movement. You don't have to say anything. Just sit there. Take small bites. and let your brain feel cared for. These 3 steps, less than 7 minutes. But you'll feel the effect for the next 7 hours. Because once the brain is supported at the right moment, it won't scream for rest anymore. It'll guide you into alertness, balance, and fullness. You don't need to change your entire morning routine. Just slip this in between ending your walk and starting your main breakfast. And I believe, after just a few days, you'll understand why I call it the softest medicine the brain needs. But if you think you're doing this alone, you'll be surprised. Because thousands of older adults across America have started living with more clarity, just by doing these 3 little steps each morning. And what they say after a few weeks will move you more than any medical result ever could. I'll tell you about a few of them in the next part. A community of older adults becoming clear-headed again, just by being gentle with their brains. Do you know what moves me most after all these years in this profession? It's not when I save someone in the ER. It's not a perfect test result. It's those moments when I receive a simple message, "Doctor, I ate at the right time this morning." And my head. It just felt calmer. Or sometimes just a short email, "I did the 3 steps you mentioned." And suddenly I felt light, like I pulled a cloud off my forehead. I can't name them all, but there are a few people I want you to know. Mrs. Janice, 67, from Florida. She once said that every morning after walking, she would sit still for nearly 30 minutes, unable to do anything. She didn't understand why her head felt like a dream I hadn't quite woken up from. Until she tried, breathing 3 times under the morning sun, drinking a warm glass of coconut water, eating half a banana and a slice of avocado. After just 5 days, she sent me this. For the first time in 5 years, I could take a walk, and then call my son without forgetting what I wanted to say. Then there's Mr. Maurice, 72, from Nevada, who used to think feeling tired after exercise was normal. But then he started noticing his hands trembling slightly, his mind going foggy, getting irritable. And when he realized it wasn't aging, but a lack of gentleness toward his brain, he started his recovery ritual. He said, "I call it the 7 minutes I give to my brain, not to anyone else, not to work, not to my phone. Just me and my brain, sitting together." I'm not telling you these stories to convince you. I'm telling you so you'll know, you are not alone on this path. There are so many people, from across the US, from quiet towns to busy cities, who have begun returning to their brains in the softest of ways. No machines. No medications. Just timely listening, and a small habit done at the right moment. And I believe, if you've read this far, you're already very close to that shift. But even with a community beside them, with new knowledge and daily habits, there's still one thing I often hear older adults say, a quiet kind of self-blame: am I just getting weak? I want to answer that, clearly and once and for all, in the next part. And if you've ever thought you were declining just because of age, you might look at yourself with much softer eyes after that. You're not weak, your brain just hasn't been allowed to sit down. I once heard a man in his 70s, tall and strong, speak to me in a whisper like he was afraid someone might hear, "Doctor, am I getting weaker? I still exercise regularly, I eat well. But my mind just feels foggy the entire morning." I sat down next to him, not in a lab coat, not holding any medical chart, just looking into his once sharp eyes, now tinged with confusion. And I said what I want to say to you right now: no, you're not getting weaker. You're just letting your brain stand all morning, without ever letting it sit down. We often think rest means when the body sits, when movement stops. But true rest is when the brain knows that everything is safe, sufficient, and nourished enough to recover. And that doesn't happen just by sitting in a chair. It happens when we send the brain a clear message: you've done well. Now let me take care of you. That signal could be a soft ripe banana, a sip of warm coconut water, a spoonful of creamy avocado, or just a bit of sunlight brushing your forehead as you take 3 deep breaths under the porch roof. I don't blame you if you've overlooked this before. Because no one teaches us to care for the brain in such a gentle way. Most advice is, take medication, exercise, and sleep on time. But few say, the brain also needs love, not through words, but through real actions. And if you've ever thought, maybe I'm just weaker now. I'm not who I used to be. I'm not sharp enough to handle things like before. Then today, I want you to try changing just one thing. Don't call it a decline. Call it a message, from your brain, that it's waiting for you to come back. Not to fix it, but to sit beside it, like an old friend not seen in years. And I believe, once you start giving your brain just a short moment of care after each morning, you'll notice something very different. You're not going downhill. You're slowly regaining your ability to feel, and to heal, in a way no one ever taught you before. And if, by now, you already feel a little lighter, then stay just a few more minutes. Because in the final part, I want to give you an image that not only helps you remember everything we've shared, but one that might make you truly want to keep this habit as a part of your home, every morning. One bite at the right time, and your brain is preserved for a whole lifetime. If you're still here, I want to hug you, with a hug from the heart. Because you've taken the time to listen to something few people pause to consider, that your brain also needs to rest, to be nourished, and to be loved. Today, we've realized together that, the fatigue after walking isn't due to age, but because the brain hasn't been properly restored. A light potassium-rich snack, eaten at the right time, can reduce pressure on brain arteries, stabilize your heartbeat, and help maintain alertness and emotional balance throughout the day. And with just 3 simple steps, breathing, proper hydration, and a gentle snack, you can turn every morning into a true healing journey for your brain. You've also met others like you. They're not perfect, but they are patient, gentle, and willing to start again with just one bite at the right time and a kind new habit for themselves. And now, I ask you just one small thing. If this video made you feel lighter, help you understand yourself better, or may you want to start fresh tomorrow, please hit like to mark that moment for yourself. If you have a loved one, a friend, or someone you quietly worry about each morning, please share this video with them, like a little message. Hey, maybe your brain is waiting for a hug you forgot to give. And if you want to keep walking the path of living alert, living well, and staying connected to yourself, I invite you to follow the Thrive 60 Plus channel right now. Here, we don't talk about age. We discuss the aspects that make aging meaningful, memorable, and full of emotion. You deserve a healthy brain, a clear memory, and a deeply fulfilling life. And if you've ever thought you were becoming weaker, maybe today, you'll call it by another name. I'm returning to myself. Thank you. See you tomorrow morning. And remember, one bite at the right time can preserve a whole memory.